Hey, this is the 5-minute podcast review for Saturday, August 24, 2019. Got another 3 interesting but different podcasts to run past you. First up is the Intellectual Dark Web podcast. Now, essentially, this is a collection of intellectual conversations taken from existing videos and audio files already floating around the web. The Intellectual Dark Web, that term in this context, is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek term used to refer to those intellectuals like Sam Harris, Steven Pinker, Christopher Hitchens, and Richard Dawkins, to name some of the higher-profile ones. And the idea is that they often express ideas that are not always politically correct or aligned with mainstream views commonly found on the mainstream web. So it's a tongue-in-cheek nod to the subversive and illicit dark web. Though I think the term's now a bit out of date, as I hardly think of the mainstream web as full of politically correct ideas. But anyway, the key thing is that the Intellectual Dark Web podcast is a place to find dozens of deep and meaningful conversations on subjects ranging from religion and politics to artificial intelligence and the meaning of consciousness. So when you're in the mood for an intellectually challenging conversation, head over to the Intellectual Dark Web podcast. Righto, change of gear, let's talk about For Keeps. And this is a podcast series focused on collectors and their collections, but not your conventional collectors like of antiques or stamps, but quirky collectors like the guy who collects typewriters, but not just any old typewriters. He collects typewriters that were owned by notable people like John Lennon, Joe DiMaggio, and even the Unabomber. Or there's the guy who collects audio taken from random homemade cassette tapes bought at thrift stores and garage sales. And there's nearly 50 other episodes covering collectors of slinkies, etch-a-sketches, vintage Los Angeles memorabilia, rescued and found diaries, velvet paintings, whatever they are. Haven't heard that episode yet. Messages found in bottles, which apparently there are thousands of them, condoms, air sickness bags, and the list goes on and on. The episodes of For Keeps are really well produced and run around 30 to 40 minutes, and the magic in each episode is as much, if not more, about the collector and their unusual obsession than the actual items being collected. So if you're looking for something a bit different to listen to, use the link I've put on your screen to check out For Keeps. So let me finish up with a music podcast, and this one's quickly becoming one of my favourites. I reckon might earn a permanent place on my playlist. It's called Teenage Mixtape. It's out of the UK, and it sees hosts Joel Dommett and Steve Dunn interviewing a range of their celebrity friends about the music that got them through their teenage years. And being a podcast with all the copyright restrictions, not much of the actual songs are played, and instead the song choices are used as jump-off points for usually very funny conversations about growing up, teenage years, and the songs that mattered then, even if some of them are now cringe-inducing. The best bit is really probably just the cheekiness of the hosts and the realness of the guest personalities. Here's a little clip from the episode with guest Emily Attack, a UK reality TV star and slightly but not too distant relative of Paul McCartney.
What was it like growing up with such an insane relative? Like, it's like,
do you know,
mad.
people ask me that a lot, but I don't know any different. So
Yeah.
I knew that. I remember once with Paul McCartney, we'd go to his house when we were kids, like for Sunday lunch and things like that. And I remember once we went there, and he said to us, he went, "You've just missed Michael Jackson. He was here literally 5 minutes ago."
How old were you at this point?
I mean, I must have been
You've
about...
dodged a bullet.
Yeah, well, I was about 8. So, yeah. I mean, at the time, I was gutted that I'd just missed Michael Jackson.
Oh my God.
Not now.
Wow.
But, yeah.
That was coming out of my mouth before I knew what was happening.
I know, I'm scared. But no.
Okay, and just while I've got it up, here's another clip from the same episode.
What was the first single you ever bought?
I think it was Britney Spears' Baby One More Time.
Great track.
What a
track. I'm pretty sure it was that. And I remember I had this little tape player, and I'd play a song that I liked, and like every 3 seconds I'd pause it and write down the lyrics.
Yes.
And then I'd like learn the whole thing, and everyone was just always like, "Oh my God, you know all the words to everything." Well, but the thing is now, because it was the first single I ever bought, it was like my first memory of kind of listening to a singer, apart from Celine Dion as well. But like listening, so I just sang like Britney Spears my whole life. And now, even when, if I'm trying to, in an audition or something, I automatically go into, baby, baby. Baby, baby. And it's like, no, sing your own. I don't have my own voice. I just try and do it in Britney's voice still, because I tried to train myself so much to sing like Britney.
She's got like quite a weird voice.
She does have quite an odd voice.
She sounds like a foreign sheep.
She does.
Yeah.
Baby, baby.
Britney Shears?
Yes, please.
It kind of works.
Good.
It slightly works.
It does.
Almost.
It works.
I think it works.
Okay, so those clips are both from the first episode from April, and as I said, with guest Emily Attack. And it's a great episode to sample and get the feel for if Teenage Mixtape is for you or not. And that's it. 3 more podcasts: the Intellectual Dark Web podcast, For Keeps, the podcast about quirky collectors, and Teenage Mixtape. Links to all are on your screen. Catch you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.